With that, we're going to turn back to Jerry Lininger. Jerry, are you at home? Jerry?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Jerry in Northern Michigan at home, who veteran of the shuttle, veteran of Mir. Jerry, it's been a little while since we talked. I'm curious if anything else has come to mind for you on what might have happened here, what sorts, and I don't want to get way ahead of this, but I mean, let's give the areas of interest that would be some of the prime suspects in this.
I think you've been covering them well, Miles. I think, it's very dynamic, obviously, a lot of friction, a lot of pressure buildup when you're streaking through the atmosphere. Friction's what slows you down. You're inside a big fireball, plasma collapsing around you, so its airframe is the first thing I would worry about, metal fatigue, things of that nature. I think what you mentioned, if there's a defect in the insulation, a tile at a critical point, if it hits for example, a control mechanism and you lose control of the vehicle, the top of the vehicle, for example, cannot withstand the type of heat that you take during re-entry. So, all the things you're pointing toward are things that you have to be concerned about.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's a heck of a crew on board as you go through the people. And
let's talk about them a bit.
Well, just, skilled, dedicated, courageous people.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing, the people on the ground, besides not touching it for their own safety, I'm sure everybody wants to, in Texas and around the world, wants to make sure we figure out what causes it so it never happens again. So.
Yeah. Jerry, you've been inside the space program and know exactly what happens and how NASA prepares for these to aid and assist the families. What is happening right now to help these families out?
There's usually a family escort, and that's many times an astronaut that goes along with the family, especially during the launch time. And at landing, it sort of depends on the family's request and how comfortable they feel. If it's maybe the guy's third or fourth flight, the family feels comfortable in knowing what to do. But on first flights, a lot of times they'll provide an escort to be with the family. If they're going to be there at landing, I'm sure there's people there to kind of tell them what happens during landing and to ease their concerns. And now, of course, they're there to try to comfort them.
And it's probably a challenge which, it's got to be an incredibly difficult time for them and for these families to try to sort through all of this. Jerry, this is something that astronauts certainly know about, but I wouldn't say they fear it.
I don't think they fear it. We have confidence. You heard Rick Husband, the commander, talking before he left. He's got confidence in the vehicle. Got confidence in all the great people that make that vehicle go to space. And, it's obviously a tragedy of great, depth here. And, there's a lot of people feeling very badly. I'm sure everybody in the world feels badly.
What does this do to the program, Jerry?
The interesting thing, you flashed up there's a cosmonaut and two astronauts on board space station. So you've got a space station up there orbiting that depends upon the shuttle. You have other means. You can use a Soyuz capsule, the Russian capsule, to get there. But, I think exploration and discovery and going out there and pushing the envelope, and that's what the astronauts do every day of their lives up there in space.
Jerry, you mentioned an important point. We have a crew up there, Don Pettit, Ken Bowersox, Russian cosmonaut, whose name is escaping me this moment. I apologize for that. Budarin, I believe. And it is, they, at this point, are sort of not stranded. They have a Soyuz capsule there, which they can take to leave any time. And I guess we should point that out to our viewers. Are you there, Jerry? Okay. All right. Let's move on, and we'll think about that point a little bit later. United Space Alliance is the prime contractor for the space shuttle. It's a synthesis of a couple of big aerospace companies, Boeing and Lockheed Martin. USA is the prime contractor, which does the work in getting a space shuttle to orbit and bringing it back and turning it around. A lot of people don't realize that most of the employees at NASA work for contractors, and the NASA civilian force is actually a small part of it. The real work is done in many respects by the United Space Alliance. With us on the line now is Jeff Carr, spokesperson for USA. Jeff, are you in Florida?
No, Miles, I'm in Houston near Mission Control.
What can you tell us from your perspective? What have you seen? What have you heard? And do you have any sense of where things are headed right now?
Well, Miles, as frustrating as it may be to your viewers, we really don't know what happened. You've done a great job so far, I think, of laying out the sequence of events, and I was listening to your interview with Jerry Linenger, and I thought he brought some very level perspective to it. But right now, we're working closely with NASA to go back and review all of the data, look for anything that might be a telltale sign of what occurred. Unfortunately, our first indication that anything was wrong with what looked like a picture-perfect reentry this morning came with that loss of communications. And until we do determine what happened, our primary concern is with, of course, the safety and well-being of the crew. And until we know what happened, that's going to continue to be our primary concern.
Jeff, once again, bear with me here because I don't want to get too far down the road of speculation, but I do want to address this issue because it's out there. This is the piece of debris which fell off on ascent while it was rising to orbit. What can you tell us about what we know about that? As I've been telling our viewers, the sense I got from talking to people at NASA is that they discounted whether it, well, they basically said it wasn't a big deal.
Well, I would take exception with their discounting it, Miles. I think what happened is a lot of very smart people took using good technology, took a good look at the imagery that was available and analyzed that image and basically determined that it was not conclusive.
Jeff, let me interrupt you while you say that. Let's get that image up if we could, that ascent image, the launch image where we see, I believe if you look closely, you can see some debris falling off. Go ahead, Jeff. What was the determination as they looked at it very closely there?
Well, basically, Miles, it was a non-determination. There wasn't any indication, any immediate indication that there was any damage of note. And I think it's really, at this point, much too early to begin speculating that there's any linkage between that event and what has occurred this morning. We don't know what the cause is, and it just wouldn't be productive to speculate at this point.
No, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want you to have the sense that that's where I'm headed with this. It's just that this is something that people are aware of, and I wanted to at least get a sense from you as to where it stood and what the feeling was. I mean, the shuttle, in the course of its 113 mission history, has lost tiles before.
That's true, but at this point, we don't even know that there were tiles lost or to what extent they were lost, Miles. And this is one of many stones that's going to be overturned. We're going to be looking at every scrap of information and evidence that could help us understand what happened today. That activity is going to be ongoing for days, weeks, maybe months. I don't know. But right now, our primary concern is to determine as best we can what happened and to determine the safety and well-being of the crew. And Miles, before